Hello, my name is Alex Iles and welcome to Conicum, or modern-day Benwell in the west end of Newcastle. Right now we are walking past the Vallum, which is the military ditch behind Hadrian's wall and was to the south of the wall. Some historians have suggested this was originally designed as the foundations for a road that would go east-west across the Roman frontier in northern Britain. But the much more likely argument is that this was always designed to be breaking up the land to provide a frontier, a barrier between the military zone, which was obviously to the north of Hadrian's wall, and the civilian zone to the south. This area was the Roman fort of Conicum, as I've mentioned before, and it was quite an amazing and interesting fort because of the fact it was the third fort on Hadrian's wall, and it was stationed initially with Germanic troops from the Lower Rhine, and these were the first cohort of Wangenorum, which was a mixed cavalry and infantry unit, and then later on with a unit of Asturians, which is Spanish cavalry. So in both cases you have cavalry elements, so you can push north and control the area, keep off the native Britons and push north against any incursions. So quite an important area. But right here as well we also have the Vellum Crossing, which would have been just 50 meters to the south, directly lined up with the south gate of the Roman fort. And so this Vellum Crossing was quite an important part of the frontier defences, because as you came up to the Roman fort you would have this huge ditch here which would be able to cut off the land from the civilian zone and from the vicus, the civilian settlement nearby, and you were then entering into a military controlled area. So just directly in front of us right here you can see an interpretation panel, and this interpretation panel gives you an idea of what this Vellum crossing would have looked like in the past. You've got this large stone monument that breaks up the land between the metalled road leading up to the fort and then also the road leading to the south, probably down into the River Tyne or down into the Tyne Valley itself. It would have been very intimidating, because when you've got to think about this, the native Britons didn't build like this. They were capable of building in stone, they built hill forts, they used stone in the construction of their roundhouses, but never on the extent the Romans built in. And when the Romans built in stone, they built to the nth degree. They built huge forts, they built a massive structure like Hadrian's Wall, they built grand temples, houses, palaces, all of those sort of things. And so suddenly, coming up here to the Roman frontier, you as a native Briton would be walking up and you would see this gateway, this arch, just meaning that you had to pass through this to enter into the Roman fort. Now if you're approaching this arch, you have to have a really good reason to be here. Just like today, if you're approaching a modern day military structure, you need to have a reason to be there. You're going to be searched, you're going to be questioned, you're going to have to know why you're going up towards the fort and towards Hadrian's Wall. And it's likely that the only people coming up this road would have been people who were supplying the fort, or soldiers coming back from being off duty, or possibly also local government officials for the Roman Empire. It's very unlikely that natives who didn't have a reason to be here would have been going anywhere near this fort and this crossing, but they would have seen it on their day-to-day lives. They would have seen this large ditch, the Vallum, they would have seen the Vellum crossing, and it would have said something to them. It would have said, this land no longer belongs to you, this land belongs to the Romans, this is the imperial frontier now, and if you want to come anywhere near it, you have to have a very good reason for doing so. And so again, it broke up the land between the military controlled zone to the north, the civilian controlled zone to the south, and the barbarian zone to the north again, and made new demarcations. It said that the people north of the wall were now barbarians and foreigners. It said that the military were here. These were either Roman citizens or people who were serving to become Roman citizens. And then it had the freemen, or the free peoples, who were the people living in the Tyne Valley, who were under Roman rule, but they weren't citizens. They didn't have the same rights yet, and they would have to either buy their citizenship, earn their citizenship, or join the army to get citizenship. So this again was now bringing new concepts into the world of Britain. It was saying to the native peoples that now you need to become Roman, you need to suddenly give up what you had before and become a part of our system, because otherwise you're not getting access to certain parts of society, getting access to certain parts of life, and it really broke up the way they would live here. Not only that is it a political statement, but it's also got some wonderful features as well that I love showing off. And if I just hold this up here, if you look down into the Vellum Ditch, you can see that there is a channel passing underneath the Vellum Crossing. And that was built in to stop the buildup of water. It meant the water could move underneath the Vellum Crossing without causing it to subside or to collapse. And it's one of the reasons why it still remains here to this modern day. So again, it shows us something of Roman construction, the way the Romans built, and the fact that they left things that today can be seen and excavated 1900 years later and tell us about the Roman Empire in Britain. So the Vellum Crossing, in all of its different ways, not only shows us now that there was a new social system in Britain which separated the natives from the Romans, separated the land, broke it up, and for the first time divided Britain into two areas, the northern part of Britain and the southern part of Britain, and then said, right, to the north is not a part of the empire and to the south is a part of the empire, and created a whole new understanding of the way we look at the British Isles. So I love showing off this because this simple structure, you might walk past it and just think it's a pile of stones, but it has so many more significances and so much more of a story to tell than that. So I really hope you've enjoyed the video, that I've been able to tell you something about the Roman frontier in Britain, and that you'll join us for another video in the near future. Until then, keep well, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.